Hi there guys. In this video we're going to have a look at this Lyman Gen 6 powder measure's least appealing feature, and that feature is the loud buzzer that the machine gives off when it is finished throwing a powder charge. So it's a good machine. I like it quite a bit. I use it quite often, and if you're doing a lot of smaller runs of things where you don't want to set up a mechanical powder measure, this is a great system to use. But like I said, it has the annoying, a very annoying loud buzzer that comes on every time the machine is done dispensing a charge. So there is an audible feedback when you input anything into the keypad. So we'll put in a powder charge and enter it, and it'll start up. And the machine makes a little bit of noise while it's running, but it's not terrible. But we'll get to the 10 grains I keyed in here, and it will make the noise. And that, I can tell you, gets to be really annoying after a while. And it carries quite a distance. I'm pretty sure you can hear that thing all over the house when it goes off. So that I don't like. It's good to have some sort of a feedback, but having something that loud is just super annoying. That's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to try to make this thing a bit quieter. So first things first, we're going to unplug it from power, and then we're going to empty out the powder that's in the machine at the moment. Alright, we will start the disassembly process by assuming that you have taken the powder out of the machine, that it's completely empty of powder. And you can remove the brush and the scale check weight, set those aside, take the scale pan off, set that aside, remove the hopper, so push down the button, rock the hopper back, you can set that aside as well. After you've got the powder hopper out of the way, you need to remove the drop tube, and if you look over here, there's a spring right here. The motor drives a couple of gears which turn a fitting, and the fitting is connected to a spring, and that's to give a bit of a flex or leeway to the system when it's turning. And there's a hole in this shaft. You can put a piece of I'm using a piece of coat hanger here. The machine came with a little metal rod which I misplaced. Anyway, you can hold this in place, and then you can turn the powder drop tube and just pull it clear. And once that's out of the way, this is spring loaded, push it in, and you can remove it. You can lift up the tray that the powder pan sits on. That's just sitting there on top of the sensor, so you can just pick that up and get that out of the way. Next, we'll need to turn the unit over, and you'll notice that there are holes in the bottom. There are 4 exposed holes. There are also 2 holes underneath these rubber pads at the front. There's no screws under the rubber pads in the rear. I've already pulled these off, so they're loosened up, but they'll come off with just a bit of gentle persuasion. Underneath we have screws, and I'm using I think that's a size number 1 Phillips screwdriver. We just need to get in there and take those screws out, and we'll get back to you once we've got those removed. The entire upper gold portion should be disconnected from the bottom part, so we should be able to just pull this straight up. You can hear it sliding, and it's just there's sort of a slot here that kind of guides it at the front. You can see where it fits in there, so that whole piece comes right off. You can set that aside. Alright, we're down to the guts of the machine, and you're going to need a very small Phillips screwdriver. This is out of one of those precision screwdriver sets. I think it's a number 3, they're calling it in their fine sizes. Anyway, we have one screw here, another one here, another one here, and another one there. So we need to remove those. Alright, those are loosened up. We should be able to pick the display up off, and we'll just sort of move it over to the side here. You can take the screws out and set them aside somewhere where they won't get lost, because sure as heck those are small, and if anything's going to get lost, it'll be those. We've got a ribbon cable that connects the display to the rest of the machine. We're just going to leave that connected and just gently set that to the side. Alright, we can now see the offending component which causes the noise. We'll zoom in here a little bit on it. And this is this component right here. It's basically a small speaker or buzzer, and you can see it has a hole in the center of it. I have heard of a variety of ways of making these quiet. Some of them seem a little more permanent and a little more severe than others. Some people trickle super glue in there. Some people put a couple of pieces of tape over the top of the hole to muffle it. I'm sure all those things would work. The super glue seems a little bit extreme to my way of looking at things. I'm going to try just a blob of hot glue on the top, and I think if that doesn't work properly, I'll be able to just pull it off. So just one moment while I get out the hot glue gun. Alright, we've let some time pass. Let's check to make sure that this is cooled off, and it has. Let's just have a little bit closer look at how much of this stuff that I piled on there. Probably a couple of millimeters high. So, as the saying goes, reassembly is the reverse of disassembly, so we'll anchor the touchscreen back down and we'll put this thing back together in the reverse of taking it apart. Alright, I've got this thing put back together, and it's time to see if we've improved the buzzer situation any or not. So let's see what the startup tone sounds like now. It's a bit quieter. Sounds a little bit off pitch now, but it's a bit quieter. Let's put in a charge weight. I think that's slightly quieter. Although I must say it's not as quiet as I thought it would be. The big deal is the buzzer when it's finished dropping a charge. Let's see how loud that is. Well, that is a bit quieter, but I must say it's not really what I was aiming for. I would have preferred a little bit less noise than that. Let's try that again. We'll put in a smaller number this time. Well, I'm not really pleased with that. I think I might go take this thing apart again and try putting some glue actually inside the buzzer instead of just on top of it. Here's a machine taken apart again. I popped off the little puddle of hot glue that I put on top of the buzzer. This time I'm going to put the glue right down into the buzzer, so this might be a little less reversible, but we'll see how it works out. It was a little bit too loud from the first attempt, so let's give this a go and see what happens. Alright, that should be more glue inside the buzzer and a little less on top. So we'll have to put this thing back together and let it cool off and see how it works for the second attempt. Alright, here is attempt number 2 at quieting up that buzzer. Let's see how loud it is now. Well, that is definitely a bit quieter than the first attempt. It's certainly not silent by any means, but it's quite a bit quieter than it was before. So probably worth the effort. Let's try it again. Not too bad. I guess that'll do it for this video. As always, your comments and ratings are appreciated. I'd also like to hear from any people who own one of these machines who have done a similar modification to quiet down the buzzer. I'd like to know what exactly you did and how satisfied you were with the results. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.